It's the No Last Race podcast with Mick and Louis, brought to you by Tiakau, New Zealand's champion racing stable.
Welcome in, No Last Race. Mick, Louis, Tiakau, Toby in the corner. Boys get paid. Glad to be back. Pizza.
Is there pizza in that box?
There is pizza in that box, Michael. Welcome. Hey, good to see you back in person, friend.
Yeah, it is good to be back, mate. And because as I said to you last time, we met heaps of your people in Christchurch for Cup Week, and we're looking forward to meeting some more over what's going to be a pretty cool time in Auckland, because not only do we have races on the Saturdays, but the twilights start next Thursday, and as many of your tribe would know, it's a whole different grade of fun.
It is a whole different grade of fun. You're so right. It's a different animal. It's a different beast when we get down to the Big Easy and it's popping off. The weather's good. Yeah. People were kind of thinking about the viaduct. They're weighing up their options. And we're going to get into all of that. We'll get into some extracurriculars later as well, which are some of your pet topics.
Yes.
Tiakau, cheers to David and the team who look after this show. The ready-to-run sales, they bought a handful of horses, and to my knowledge, they flew off the shelf as fast as they ever have, which is really encouraging, isn't it?
They sold them straight away, and it takes a big machine to do that. Like, you need to have a lot of people doing a lot of things right. Some of it would be return business, but there'll also be people who have never had a horse before, who now have horses with Tiakau. It's really easy at the moment. I've been through it in harness racing with the Perd and Rasmussen stable when they were so dominant. It's easy for some people to say, well, I'm sick of hearing about them. And I get it as racing for the Herald. People say, or even I'm now EPing weigh-in. And we have to be really careful that you don't talk about one stable too much. I'm experienced with that with Mark Purdon. But you also can't just go the other way because you're trying to create other narratives. Yeah. Someone's got to be number one, like the All Blacks were for a lot of years and often tend to be, and other people may get pissed off about that. But I've said to people right through the Purdon Rasmussen era, it's your job to go out and try and beat them. It's not impossible, and nothing lasts forever. But at the moment, their dominance. I've been in galloping, not really, really deeply, but I've been following it, or I've been at the Herald for 30 years. I've never seen a dominance in galloping like this. They've had it in harness racing, but a dominance of the levels of buying the best horses, winning the most races, winning the GNLs, groups and listeds. I think they've won 10 this season. So it's impressive stuff, whether people like that or not.
Yeah, well, they can cop it. They can grow up. We can be adults about it. It's the consistency of performance across the board, and you weren't surprised to see Jamie go bang, bang, bang at Ellerslie on Saturday. There's racing at Ellerslie this Saturday, but there's also a Group 1 down the line in the 04, I believe it is, in Wellington, the Captain Cook Stakes. We will get to that, Michael. We're also going to cover off the jockey ranks, what's going on in the senior jockey ranks.
There's a lot going on in the jockey ranks.
And you had a great story for the New Zealand Herald where you make your real crust earlier in the week. Actually, you make your real crust punting. We're going to get into that as well. Summer racing's here. It's a different beast. We're not playing in the swamps anymore. We
may be this Saturday.
The irony
which is bad timing, but I know what you're saying. And punting on firm tracks and punting on wet tracks are completely different things.
Yeah.
And there's one type of horse you should avoid under all circumstances on dry tracks.
Leave it as a tease. Yes, great stuff. He's a pro. Hell of a race with Hell Pizza. That is the Captain Cook Stakes. And we're going to finish off with the Tiakau Treasures. Jamie's given one a little spruik for us to have a look at.
So they've had a good run, because one of Jamie's first Tiakau Treasures was Carmelass, who went on to win 1,000 guineas. And
she will be doing a little full circle, and at some stage we'll be looking at the Karaka Million or the Karaka Classic as well for the 3-year-olds. So that's really exciting stuff. All right, let's crack into it then. Jockey ranks. Tomorrow at New Plymouth, isn't it? We have the Rosie Myers fundraising day, which is an awesome initiative set up by the team there. But in general, the senior riding ranks, Mick, are just, well, I want to call them would you call them decimated? It's muddled.
They've taken some body blows. First of all, we'll get to Rosie because that's the most important. She obviously hurt her head. She had quite bad head and facial injuries October 5th in an accident at the trials when a horse stood on her. Spoke to William Fell, who's her husband, on weigh-in on Monday night, and he said, look, the main thing is there's no cognitive issues, which means
huge
brain. Basically, she can talk and carry on, and she understands what's going on, and they tend to improve over time also. So that's the most important part. So they're putting together a benefit day for her tomorrow, and a whole bunch of clubs around the country have got involved. You can get involved in a sweepstake thing they've got during the day. The clubs are involved, where you can win a hospo for 20 people at New Plymouth, and Tim Mills from Canterbury's PID are table for 8 at the Winter Cup together, and then jockeys are going to put money forward if they win races. Long story short, it's a way of saying, hey, we're supporting you. Now, Rosie has said she will donate that money back to the Injured Jockeys Trust, the Wellington Free Ambulance, and Westpac Rescue Helicopter, because they all helped her on the way through. So that's a great gesture. But it's good everybody's at least saying, hey, when one of ours gets hurt, we'll be there to support you, because it's a brutal job, race riding, and we're going to talk about jockeys a little bit now, and people give jockeys a hard time. You know, there's all those cliches like if everybody was born 5'5", they'd all be packing shelves and all that bullshit. But that's bullshit. Like, I played senior rugby at Auckland, which is pretty scary. And I've done some pretty crazy shit. I've been in a fighter jet and I've been in helicopters and jumped out of planes and bungee jumped. There's no chance on God's earth, no chance I would ride in a race. Zero. It would be scary as shit to me. So anybody who starts that jockeys, and yeah, sure, sometimes they get on the piss too much or they do silly things. But anybody who wants to start the conversation with me around jockeys and how they could do it if they weighed 55 kilos.
Yeah, well,
that's just shit.
Actually, do you know
There's
what?
No chance
you try and say that, you're almost more batshit crazy than the jockey getting on the horse itself, because it just makes no sense. That is just illogical, and there is a skill set which is why probably buys into this. While we're actually going through probably a bit of a lean patch. It's not for everybody. It takes balls, it takes skill, it takes mercurial talent, and it also takes a couple of inches up here, which I don't think jockeys often get enough credit for. Yes, the old cliche, the old joke, oh, well, you have to be dumb enough to get on the horse in the first place. But you watch some of these jockeys make split-second decisions and navigate at the highest speeds possible, and you try to tell me that they're not smart. Michael McNabb has come back, and he just seems to be riding in sensational fashion. We've got your Opie Bossons. We've got no Jason Waddell this year. Vinnie Colgan's back. The top level of the senior jockeys, the top, let's say, top 5%, is the quality where it has been.
Oh, yeah, the quality's there because you do have so many people who are true professionals, and we've got a lot of female professionals. Lisa Rawpress is wonderful. Sam Collett. Danielle Johnson's obviously dominating the premiership like no one ever has before. So there's plenty of names around that level. Then you've still got Chris Johnson, who's close to the record, 1 win away from equaling the record. Then you've got Leith Innes, and then you've got guys like Opie. So these guys are top-level professionals. Then we've had guys who have come in and out of the game for one reason or another. Mm-hmm. Often it's weight. Sometimes they lose motivation. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they just get on the piss and they get too fat. And that includes all the injuries. And that might be in different orders. Michael McNabb, Troy Harris, Vinny had a neck injury. So when you put all those people in there, we've had some really good foreign riders come into the country, a lot on the South Island. So that's without naming Jonathan Parks, who's an outstanding rider, and a whole bunch of other people. So I don't want to offend anybody by not keeping going through that list. So there's depth there, but you have lost Jason Waddell. Now, Jason's got a case for not giving a urine test, for a random drug test. He expects to find out this week. He's not confident he won't get some time, and he said he wants to hang up his boots anyway. This isn't the first time he said that. But regardless of what people think about that, and Jason can be a loose cannon, but he can also be a really constructive, interesting, thinking guy. Mm-hmm. Him walking away is a big loss. He rode the second most G&Ls last year behind Opie. So that's a huge loss. And then you have Michael Coleman is gone. Sam Spratt's on the sidelines. Even young Chelsea Burden's on the sidelines for quite a prolonged period of time, it sounds like. And those people are hard to replace. Like, when you have a horse going to a track in a week and a half, I've got a horse racing in a week and a half, and sometimes you're trying to make jockey bookings 2 weeks out because you want to get the right jockey because they can undo the work from the horse. So it's important Vinny's come back. It's important Michael McNabb's come back. But I do think there's a lot of jockeys who do dumb shit because when you weigh 55 or 58 kilos and you drink, it doesn't have a good effect on your body. But I also am remiss of people to say, just like rugby players, oh, well, anybody could do it if they were small enough, or rugby players, anybody could do it if they had enough muscles, because that's just not true. Most people listening to this podcast wouldn't have the balls or the application to be a jockey. Doesn't make jockeys saints. They do a lot of dumb shit, like we all do.
Yeah.
Theirs is just more pronounced, because if you and I go get jarred up with Luke all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, he won't be able to keep up, first of all.
Exactly, Luke wouldn't be able to keep up. We do that. We can still go to work Monday. We might be dusty. We can go to work. You get on the jar for 3 days as a jockey, there's a good chance you can't. And that's where you have the issue of, do I want to drink as a jockey, or do I want to do some substances as a jockey because they won't put weight on me? And that's where that problem comes, because most jockeys can't drink a lot.
And as we said, we're not throwing stones. We're just merely pointing out this is a very delicate situation. It is part of life, and it's a very delicate situation, Mick, because you painted the picture beautifully there. But and nobody's having a go. The question I want to know is the industry doing enough to encourage the Hazel Chauffeurs, the Chelsea Burdens, the Kosciusanos, the young jockeys that have got prodigious talent a lot of the time? Are we doing enough? Is the gateway there to make sure that when we do lose some of these top-tier jockeys, that they can filter through in a consistent manner?
Well, people are getting bigger for a start, which doesn't help.
Like evolution, you mean?
Exactly. Human beings are getting bigger, so there's less people who weigh less
I
than 60
just thought you've been going to the gym.
I've been trying, brother. It's been hard.
Wearing small size shirts.
Yeah, this is a jockey shirt. But look, I think there's a pretty good pathway there for the apprentice school, and people like Noel Harris doing their bit, and really good mentors like David Walsh. But the bottom line is you've still got to want to do it. And that means being hungry for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I like being hungry. And most people watching this don't like being hungry.
Oh,
and
you mean literally?
Well, literally. So a lot of jockeys, I had a conversation with Opie last week. He came into Parnell to have dinner, and he was thrilled because he was going out for dinner. This is something that normal people think is normal. And he was going out for dinner, and he's a guy who's the best in the country. So, again, as I said, we're not making jockeys saints because they do lots of dumb shit, like everybody does. People in the law profession and doctors do dumb shit too, and they get on the piss. The difference is if you're a jockey and you do that, you probably can't go to work next week. And that's a bit of an issue.
All right, it's a really good conversation to have.
No last race with Tiakau. It's easy and affordable to be involved in New Zealand's champion stable.
One question from me, then I've got 3 from the Boys Get Paid public. You're going to love at least 2 of them. No, you probably love all of them.
Okay.
How close are we to a new TAB CEO?
I think we're pretty close. I think my investigations would suggest there's 2 people on the shortlist, both of whom which were interviewed by a panel which consisted of 2 senior TAB board members and a panel of other people who are experts in the industry. So the TAB and Dean McKenzie were wise enough to go outside their own branch of people and say,
very wise.
I think there's 2 people. I think one is more favoured than the other as a change agent, and I think the other person may well be someone who can run a ship once it is headed down that path of change.
Both New Zealand citizens, I assume?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, interesting stuff. All right, on to the punters. And I chucked this out there on the Boys Get Paid Instagram. I said, any questions for Michael Guerin, a.k.a. Mick G, a.k.a. Mickey Genius, a.k.a. Prince Prophet? And
only half those things are true.
The first one that came through was best opening line for a filly at the pub. So...
funny, I've got 7 sisters, and I've always been... one of the things men do worse is meeting women. Because they think they're different from blokes, but people are just people. Yeah. If you walk up to someone and say, hi, I'm Michael, or hi, I'm Hyphen, don't probably try that, you're more likely to get a response which is at least commiserate with what you said. It'll be on the same level. Whereas if you walk up and try and say something cutesy and funny, you almost certainly will screw it up. So just walk up and say, hi, I'm such and such. Because most people will naturally, they're ingrained, they will say, hi, I'm Tina or I'm Bruce or whoever, because some people like to hit on people the same sex as well.
And just make sure you keep your winning slips around and get rid of your losing ones.
Yeah, tell you what,
if
you're in a pub, here's a clue for you, and New Zealanders are dreadful at this. If you're a guy and you're in a pub, carrying cash is good. Carrying cash. There's no movie in the history of the world where Richard Gere's trying to pick up Pretty Woman and he pulls out his EPOS card. Carry some cash.
That's not bad.
Carry some. If you go to the races and
bad.
Collect your $300, you pull out $300 and $100 notes in a bar in New Zealand, and people look at you like you're Pablo Escobar.
You might owe a couple of drinks, but yeah,
it's true.
Yeah. Okay. Going off from the jockeys, should jockeys be held more accountable for a lack of intent on rides?
No. You know what? A lot of times you get racing at Rotorua today, and it's a leader's track for most of the day. If you get back, there's nothing you can do about it. Like when you bet, and what's screwed this for people is speed maps. Speed maps are some of the biggest bullshit in the world because most people doing the speed map don't know what they're doing. So unless you've got someone who's dedicated, balls deep, this is all they do for a job, their speed map might be okay. But people get a speed map on Australian television. They're huge on them. Here's a speed map. It doesn't work out. Someone goes, well, what was Michael McNabb doing? The speed map had him third. Well, that's just bullshit. And you also don't know what the trainer said. The trainer might say, look, we want this thing to settle. This thing's not getting its breathing right. So it's no different to saying what was Bowden Barrett's intent when he came into the back line. Well, his intent isn't always to break through and make a break.
Yeah.
Sometimes his intent is to be the decoy for something else. So intent's a very unusual word because these people don't own the horses.
No.
They are working for other people. I got a horse racing today at Rotorua. And it probably can't win because it's drawn slightly wide. Now, I'll be happy enough to see her posse up somewhere nice, have a good experience, and come home ready to win. Yes, I want to win. Of course I wanted to win. Paid a lot of money for her. But the intent today from a slightly wide draw is if she gets in a neutral position, look after her, try and win, but don't be scrubbing the ears off her to go forward because as punters, you want to see them scrubbing the ears off them so you feel good about it. But that's not for the best thing for them.
So just be mature, mostly. Just look, actually...
Take emotion out of your analysis.
Yeah. As always, that's usually what comes back down to it. And the last one is, can I have a winner, please? So we'll get to that. We'll make sure we circle back to that.
It's a good time. It's a good time of year to be betting.
I think so.
December is a prime time for smart, intelligent bettors to pay attention because there's a lot of racing. And if you go chasing your tail for every win, well, you've lost already. Doesn't matter what you do.
But if you can show some patience,
but also have your computer ready, have your notebook ready. If you saw a horse go good 2 weeks ago at Ellerslie, see in winter where they race on basically a weekly cycle, all the horses themselves race every 2 weeks, but pretty much most people watching this only pay attention on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to pay attention because Saturday rolls around, you're paying attention. But what's tricky is when you start getting horse goes good Thursday night at Ellerslie, it's racing on the 27th at New Plymouth. That's when you've got to pay attention and have a race tracker and know how to use your tech because they're not Saturday to Saturday. They're not all exposed, and that's where they can fall through the cracks for the bookmakers. They can fall through the cracks for yourself, and there's no worse feeling than when a horse wins and go, I didn't even know it was in. Didn't even know that was in. So using your tech or your note system or whatever you've got this time of year, you can win because the bookmakers have families. The bookmakers have kids. They want to have Christmas. So you can get a land of them because they're rocking up to work at 10:30 hungover and trading the markets and doing the same shit everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
So if you pay attention in December and January...
So sharpen your pencil, tell your mum and your in-laws that you're not coming around on Christmas morning.
Use your race tracker.
Yeah. And we talked, if we go full circle, we spoke about this when we started this podcast, mate, when you said...
Use your tech.
Use your tech, find your applications, find your systems, learn the technology, learn what's in front of you, learn your Betfairs, learn your punters.au, whatever you want to use, your race nets. Find the stuff that you trust.
And crucially, you're probably going to drink over the next month. Most people are, who do drink.
I think it's safe to assume.
Yep. So if you're going to Ellerslie Twilights, don't bet when you're there. Just don't.
Well,
put your bets on in advance and then go win. If you want to go in on the piss and have some fun, yeah, do what you want. I don't care. But if you want to win and you think race 4, number 1's going to win, put your bet on in the afternoon, unless you think it's going to drift.
Prepare before piss.
Exactly. And then go get on the jar and have a good time. That's Boxing Day and all the Twilight.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Everything. So if you want to be smart about it, you can cut down your losing percentages by, say, 20, 25%. That's the whole ball game.
This is a good segue. Is that your summer punting tip? Is that your summer racing tip? Just bet before you drink? Nah, it can't be.
Honestly, it is a pretty important one. But
you said at the start.
Be methodical. Get your fields,
Yep.
look at them, and don't try and imagine shit that's not there. This is what I do when the fields come out today, right, for Trentham. No, yep, betting race potentially, I'll look into that later.
Yep.
No, yep, like that. So but if you're looking at 10 races and trying to bet, you're a grade 1 punter, as we say, and that's fine, enjoy the experience, I hope you have a win. But if you want to bet seriously, find the races that interest you. And then, obviously, play factors into that. Is the track improving? Has the horse worked well? Use your information around those races. Because if you try and analyse 8 races there and 9 races at Ellerslie, that's 17 races, well, you've got no chance. Because it takes me an hour to analyse a race properly. So if it takes me an hour and you haven't got 17 hours up your sleeve, you're not going to do it. So trim the fat.
Yep, trim the fat. Okay, summer racing, summer punting then. Coming up, we'll do Mick's hell of a race. It is the Captain Cook Stakes this week. It's the Group 1. We're back to another Group 1. Very exciting indeed. A question for you. The Sistema Railway field is out on the TAB futures. You're going to have a look. They've got the Crack a Million one there as well. We were out at Counties. I think everybody's seen it by now. Levante falls out of the gates and levels up, and over the last furlong, it's just scintillating. $3 favourite for the railway and $2.80 now in the futures market.
Well, you can't take that.
You can't, right?
No, it's just me.
And so I said that to Thad Taylor from the TAB, and I understand he's got a job to defend his odds on the Saturday show. I said, mate, you have to see the draw. I can't. That's too short. Like you're telling me that she's a $1.20 ahead over Avantage, who I don't know if he was going to win the race, but just for respect purposes, you're telling me it's $1.20 more or $1 more, and he stood by it. In your opinion, why is it too short?
Well, first of all, nothing bookies say makes any. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant.
Okay.
So just forget that. They've got a job to do, and their job is to sell you carpet at the highest price you'll pay for it.
As long as you understand that.
They're trying to sell you a good.
Grain of salt.
And the more they can sell it to you, in this case, the less, which is more percentage in the market, that's beautiful.
Sure.
But nothing bookies say is important.
Okay.
Stephen Hunt does a good job of coming up with information on what the bets have been, but even that's largely irrelevant because we talk about big bets all the time, but if you're a winning punter, you can't put them on. so the people betting them are probably not very good at what they're doing.
Yeah.
So market movers are one of the greatest con jobs in history. Anybody listens to that shit's mad. But
Levante.
Here's the thing. Horse was racing up till March, didn't race for 6 or 7 months. Why? There's got to be a reason.
Wet tracks? I don't know.
It's either had a leg, it's had a knee, might have had a throat, who knows? It's had something go wrong with it. That's fine. She's had an issue. There's no big deal. Horses have issues all the time.
You don't think they're just saving for the good tracks and the nice races in summer?
No, she had an issue.
Okay.
She had an issue. I don't know what it was.
All right.
But if a horse has had an issue, you don't back it in futures markets. You just don't. Because even if those horses all turn up, if the top 10, because if you're saying she's going to turn up, then you're saying everybody else is going to turn up. If the top 10 turn up in that market, and most of them are likely to go, then she's not going to start shorter than $2.80 by much. Now, the rule, we discussed the rules for futures betting. Every week out, you want 10% on what you believe it'll pay on race day.
That's right.
So if you're thinking that, we're basically 4 weeks out. We'll use
Call
4
it a
months.
month.
So you're thinking if it's going to pay $2 in the row, which is not going to pay $2 in the row. It's just not. You want an extra 20 cents in the dollar for the first week, next week, then you're back to $2.80. So for the logic of it winning the railway, it's got to get in the railway first. It's got to actually turn up in the race. Be sound, be happy, be enjoying itself. Then not draw barrier 16 or whatever. Then it's got to win. And then it's got to pay $2. That's the minimum for the 10% rule, which is proven over a long period of time, trust me. If all those other things happen, it's still not going to pay $2. You know why? Because it can't shorten anymore because it's not going anywhere. There's going to be no data. It's not going to race again. So there's going to be no data which is going to make it move in the market. There's nothing to make it go short.
Really? Not enough money? If it just keeps consistently getting bet, it won't shorten?
Who are these people?
I don't know.
Exactly. Only morons. Only morons will be taking $2. Well, seriously, but here's the thing. I'm not being a smart ass, but...
well, you always... there's always a base level of smart asses.
It's minimum price in the railway. You couldn't name a horse in the country who would start $2 in the railway. You could if Melody Bell,
you're right.
in the railway, it wouldn't start $2.
I completely agree.
Melody Bell's won 12 Group 1 races, and she wouldn't start $2 in the railway.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely no chance Levante's going to
So what would you rate it now?
$4, $4.20.
Yep. And I think it's important to remember there are a lot of people that before it jumped out at counties kind of spruiked the hype and was kind of bought it. And fair enough. And I think they got close to $10. Anywhere in that vicinity, anywhere over $6. Congratulations.
I'm not slagging the horse.
No.
Tell you a story about
I agree.
Tell you a story about fixed odds. On the harness racing world, fixed odds. A horse called Self Assured 3 months ago was hot favourite for the New Zealand Cup. Was $1.90.
I remember.
Do you know what it paid on the total New Zealand Cup day?
It's close to $3, was it?
$4.20.
$4.20.
Almost always, unless you can find 6 or 8 horses in the market who aren't going to be racing in that race, futures markets are too short. Almost always. Not always, but almost always. So if you go chasing the shortest horse in a futures market, it better be pretty darn sure that it's going to end up shorter. Is it going to start $2 in the railway? You would need to have 20 things go right between now and then. And even then, you're still backing a horse who's going to get back in midfield in a railway at $2. I might have backed Mr. Tiz under those situations. I can't think of another horse I've seen I would have backed in a railway in New Zealand who started in a railway at $2.
Perfect. There you go. Look, I completely agree. I just wanted to hear your logic because I thought you'd be good on that one. Last thing on summer punting before we get into the Captain Cook. What is the big difference punting on summer tracks versus bogs?
It's simple and it's going to sound ridiculous. Don't back slow horses. Now, that would seem to be a good thing to do any time of the year, and clearly it is. But slow horses can win on wet tracks.
Yeah.
You go to Kamara and it's that deep.
Yeah, swimmers.
Exactly. And they'll just keep, they just keep going.
Yeah, Ledecky.
They're old yaks and they're hairy and they just rock up there and they keep going. And that's good. And that's fine. Because the faster horses, the horses with that maybe more electric speed, they just get bogged down in that. And often they're gutless because they've never been taught to have guts or stamina or never been trained for it. And they just drop out. So on heavy tracks, you can back horses who don't have any speed because they just keep going like big dumb forwards.
Yes.
But
not all forwards
once the tracks get firmer, even today at Rotorua where it was about a 6, they were just pinged off it. And once those horses who can ping, speed gives you the advantage of going forward because most horses who go forward have speed because that's how they get there. If you're chasing horses who are on the speed and coming wide round them and you don't have any speed, you need to be awfully, awfully fit and they need to puncture. So all those big yacky type horses you could thump around and there's a place for them in the world and they're really important to the industry. But fast horses who can put themselves on the rail at Ellerslie will win a lot of races on summer tracks, and some of them will be terrible horses because all they can do is run 1,000 metres. But on those firmer tracks, when they get to Thames and all those places, but those big horses, you go, oh, if they go hard, it'll suit it. They don't tend to win in summer. No. Just try to avoid the big yaks and look for the horses who actually look like they've got some speed. I'm not talking
greyhounds.
I'm not talking about 2,500 metres at Trentham. I'm talking about your stock standard race in this country is between 1,200 and 1,600 metres.
Up to a mile.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you back slow horses in those,
ping along at a good pace.
Exactly. They
find the rail.
Most of them can't even get handy enough to be part of the race.
That's right. And there's nothing worse, and we've all been there, backing something that you know needs to jump really well and find itself in a nice position to put itself in a chance, and watching it fall out of the gates and settle in the back 3, and you're just like, go take a walk.
The other thing then is, if you back Levante and she gets back the last, she's got the speed to overcome that. But you back a horse who doesn't have speed and it gets back in midfield, they've only got one option. There's only one option left, and that's to roll forward.
Go forward.
Well, that's a brutal way to win a race.
And we've all had that feeling, that heart sinking, where this isn't how I imagined it.
Well, you know what? You shouldn't even heart sink. You just put your hands in your and go, what's a complete waste of time. I've actually backed horses in races and just stopped watching halfway through and got nothing else.
Yeah, fair enough too. All right, let's do it.
No last race. It's Mick's hell of a race with Hell Pizza.
Toby, give us a time check, mate. How long have we got? How long have we gone? 27. We're absolutely pinging. We're bowling along today. Big, hairy, yacky type things.
Yeah, big, hairy, yacky type things.
New pizza from Hell Pizza we've got in front of us. The Greedy Pig.
What, okay, is it pork?
It's pork. Loaded with slow cooked pork belly, your choice of pineapple or jalapenos. You can have both if you can't decide. It's a bit of me. On a Chipotle barbecue base. Go get involved with Hell Pizza. Mick, you hell of a race today. I've told you. It's race 8 at Trentham. Jumps at 4:45 on Saturday. We're going back Group 1 racing over the mile. And the favourite, who's the favourite?
Concert Hall.
It's Concert Hall.
3.7. Funny enough, I love Concert Hall. She's a wonderful horse. Actually, a bizarre story. She's actually out of a mare whose last win was in a hurdle race. There's not even a lot of mares who win hurdle races, but she's actually out of a horse.
Classic Legacy.
Yep, classic. Yep, Legacy. Won a hurdle race in its second last start, I think.
Yeah.
They thought she was a stayer, and she's run up to 2,300, but she's back to 1,600 because that seems to suit her racing pattern. But she's not a proven heavy track horse. Now, as we're doing this Wednesday afternoon, track's heavy 10, improved from 11. The horses I would like to back in the race, like Hypnos or Hua, are horses I'm happy enough to back at 7 or 6, as in regards to a 7 or dead 6, slow 7, but I don't want to back them on a 10. So this is a race where you cannot bet early doors unless you know a lot about the weather and you think you know it's going to happen.
Can we dial Jim Hickey in? Is he up for freelance work at the moment?
I imagine everybody in the media is up for freelance work at the moment.
Well, with the weather, I did have a look before we came to air, and it looks grey for the rest of the week. Not a lot of rain until the day, but should we assume that it stays a slow 8, 9?
But then again, there's no reason to assume.
No,
unless you're getting a massive spoil. Like I know you backed Amy's Jewel and it was $9 into 6 because it's handled the heavy before to win, and that's not a bad bet. The great thing is if you put it on with the tab after declarations today, you can actually cancel out of the bet.
100%.
So you can put the bet on and get fined 5 or 10%, how much depending on what you put on.
I'm happy with.
And you can cancel your bet.
Yep.
But it's I'm not going to even remotely consider betting into this race until Saturday morning, and probably till I watched a couple of races. The one thing I would say about the race is there doesn't look to be a lot of speed in it. Shadow's Cast can go forward, but there's a lot of horses there who settle. Hypnos will settle, Concert Hall will settle.
Deerfield will probably go forward for Cam?
Deerfield will go forward, but I don't expect Deerfield to be a pressure horse over 1,600. But again, heavy track would change that. So I'm really keen to see how the whole thing plays out. I don't think it's going to be... There's a big difference between a 133 mile, like we saw a couple of times last year, and what's going to be a 138 mile. That brings a whole different range of horses into play.
I know a lot of people are going to be wanting to have a bit on Prez de Fur.
Prix de Fur, yep.
Yeah, Prix de Fur, Prez de Fur.
He's won
two starts.
Two starts on slow, one win.
That's right.
Yep.
Could you back him on a slow?
If it's slow, I want to back Hypnos.
Okay.
Hypnos is an informed horse, one on slow at Hastings 2 starts ago. Absolutely smashed them in the Copelands. Just smashed them. I think the stable's informed. They had a really good winner today for Trelawney, did Roger and Robert.
Get Danielle on board.
Yep, I think there's lots of pluses. But again, I'm not even going to consider having a bet into this race until the morning of the race, and probably until I've watched 1 or 2 races to see how the track is playing and how heavy they are. If you want to look at a race of this and you think, I'm not really there, by the way, Trackside's going to have a presenter on track this week, which is really
Hooray!
Good. Yep, exactly.
What a special treat.
Exactly. Bevan Sweety's going to be
hey,
there.
Go on your swings.
He'll be able to ask some of the jockeys.
Yeah, good.
And work out what it's
Isn't
like.
that so messed up that that's like a hooray moment to have a presenter on a track? How sick is that?
They're going to have Popperwell Brendan's going to Rapa next week for Waikato Cup Day, and then obviously they're going to have 2 presenters on track for Boxing Day and New Year's
All
Day.
through summer, surely, and Karaka Million, would hope so.
Yeah, well, Karaka Million, yeah, for sure. So, and that's important because that, particularly when tracks are in that slowy, heavy, we're not sure range.
You want to know.
You want the jockeys to be asked. And
Yeah.
that's, of all the things I've missed, I missed the enjoyment that the owners and trainers have out of winning. I missed that, personally. As an experience, I think it's important to engaging people. But I think the most important information we miss is how is the track. And that's crucial. So Bevan will be on track, and Bevan does a super job. So that's at least a good thing about Saturdays and trying to read those track conditions.
It's an interesting race. It's another Group 1 over a mile. We love this stuff, but we'll be waiting till Saturday, unless you've got nice futures like Amy's Jewel at 8s or 9s. So I'm happy with that to watch into this race and see what happens early doors.
As I said, to someone who's listening to this now, it's Wednesday night. The field's out, so scratchings count. And you can put your bet on and buy it back, unless there's a large array of scratchings which change the market. So I've done it before. I've backed the horse thinking, okay, if it's heavy, I'll get out of this bet. If the track firms, it will firm in price. And just ditched out of the bet at 5 or 10%.
Perfect.
No last race. It's Mick's hell of a race with Hell Pizza.
If you're looking for a low-fat meal, delicately designed for a sophisticated palate.
Is it really?
It's a bit of you. Then this from hell is not for you.
That's what?
It's this from hell is not from you. They absolutely that serves me right for only reading half the line. So if you've after a low-fat meal, delicately designed a sophisticated palate.
I was about to say. That did sound like you were lying.
You're absolutely not unlike
By the way, did you boys have a win at the Gallops in Wangaratta or somewhere the other day?
We did. Awapuni Princess. So,
congratulations. That's great.
Brad Taylor, who's with the Freebins over there now. This is an awesome story. So I
Good
think
fella, Brad.
hell of a dude.
Yeah.
Hell of a
He's
guy.
actually, for those who don't know, he's the partner of Jane Ivel.
Yeah, well, Jane Wave was the partner of Brad Taylor.
Yeah, I'll go the other way.
he's a great legend of the movement, and so look, we've got a group of lads into this. BGP Silks, we were getting tweeted from Racing Victoria.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Greg Carbon, everyone, and it's
What was the race with? 18 or 20
I can't actually recall off the top of my head, but it would have been, look, it's more than a midweeker at Rotorua. So,
ain't that the truth?
Yeah, so that's that. Hey, it's time for the Te Akau Treasures. And not too long, we're going to be talking about the Karaka Million for this race. And they are going to have an army. It'll probably be Glenn Harvey versus Te Akau at this stage.
And maybe Pikey's won Kufu.
That's right. Good. So it might be as much of a match
and
race.
Pikey's got one on the big 2-year-old race this week too. But
that's right.
there's not many standing up to fight against them.
No, and I want to show you Pikey's one after this. But Jamie Richards, our premiership leading trainer, has given us secret and more this week at Ellerslie in the last, in race 9. This is its last start win. Look, this is I can't actually remember what it started at, Mick. It was probably close. It was definitely odds on. And by the time Opie here just kind of tracks them through, and look, it kicks away beautifully, and he doesn't really do too much work. It's Ellerslie. Jamie says it's going the right way around at Ellerslie. I don't know if that's because Jamie prefers his horses going right. I'd say he's not biased. It's going the other way here, but it wins really well.
Well, also, if you're going to be sitting it for a big race at Ellerslie, Ellerslie's a awfully tricky track to just turn up and win. Like you'd like your horses to have had a run there before your big dance at Ellerslie, because with the younger horses, they come around the bend and the straight gets really wide and opens up a lot, and some horses just get lost, which was the famous Dragon Leap incident last year.
Is it true that the big screen can spook them as well?
It doesn't happen a lot, but it happens occasionally. But what's more likely is when you get down to that big screen region, there's a lot of noise. There's people yelling, and a lot of these horses, take for example this race here, there'd be no noise.
So
when they get to a big carnival, there's noise and vision and cherry pickers and a whole lot of shit they've never seen before.
So
but this horse here, travelling professional, it's got the blinkers on early doors, which means, they're obviously thinking it's a horse. You don't try to put the blinkers on until you are hoping they need to start concentrating. Often it's a turbo button you use at different stages of its career.
Only raced 4 times, but it's a 4-year-old mare and does a little bit of work here and just kicks off really strong. So that's in race 9. So Jamie's given us the early word on there. You don't have any odds yet, but keep an eye on Secret More. Now, that's our Te Ake, our treasure for the week. But I really wanted to show you this other one because...
This is Pikey's one?
This is Pikey's one. Now, on Sunday morning show, Sundays with Clado, not Clado with Sundays.
This is Dawn Patrol or not Dawn Patrol, something else Patrol?
Dawn Passage, I believe.
Dawn Passage, okay, cool, yeah.
Watch this heat here. This is its trial win. Now, I was super impressed. So Tony, he's pretty open and honest about this sort of thing. So Clado's gone, is there anything we can watch? And he said, Dawn Parade. Yeah. Watch Dawn Parade and tell me you're not excited about this horse. And he's kind of given it. So it's a 3-year-old gelding, first start by Dawn Approach. Okay. So it goes...
Plenty of action.
So it's here third in this trial here. And just watch it go about its work.
It got out of the gates well, so it's got some early toe, which is a big help. And then he's taken hold of it, and it's relaxed pretty nice. It's pretty new. Look at the way it's climbing into itself there, but also... it's a wet track at Taupo, so they're gonna have to push themselves.
We don't have the commentary on here, but this is actually Bobby Wellwood's some of his finest work. He's doing the commentary work.
Yeah, no, they're having a great run, Robert, and he's actually a young trainer who the team's going well, but he's doing a really good job with it.
He's a good dude.
Here it is. It's come up 3 wide, which is not easy to do at Taupo. See, look, it's a very new. The head's going a bit to the side at the start. But
Nabba gives it a little bit of a tickle, and watch it just let down.
Yeah, it can run a bit. No, the thing about trials is you never know what's in behind it, but if Pikey's saying it's a decent horse, well, then you would, when you see a trial like that, you would take him at his word. When you see a trial like that, a smart thing to do is go back to the second and third horses and see where they've been in other trials. So the second horse there is a Valachi horse. You would imagine it goes okay. Mm-hmm. You go back and you go, where's this been? If it's run 8 out of 8 the last 4 trials, you go, well, maybe it beat nothing. But if it's won a trial the previous start, then you go, okay, that's probably pretty good form.
Can I give you the only moral conundrum and predicament here with this horse that Tony Pike has been good enough to kind of give us a bit of a spruik for and tell us to watch Dawn Parade? It lines up in race 2. It's a maiden 1300 on Saturday at Ellerslie. The only issue for me is Armelina, a previous Te Ake treasure, lines up in the same race. And
Is that the horse that was supposed to go to Hastings that day?
And it got scratched, turned back up at Awapuni. It is a Savabeel hopscotch.
Okay.
3-year-old, and it's a lovely, lovely horse. And it trialled up massive. Yeah. And it just was a bit green when it first went to the races.
Which one's drawn better?
Armelina's drawn the absolute car park.
Oh, well, okay, she don't be back in it. I think the rail will be out there, won't it? Will the rail be out 5 or 6?
Dawn Parade's in 2, Armelina's 18.
I think the rail was out 3 last week.
7 metres, it says. So, look,
I'm not sure I'm jumping on anything from the car park.
No.
That comes back to jockey intent, you see. Te Ake tend to go forward on a lot of their horses. But you draw the car park, you don't want a horse to have a bad experience. Often, jockeys will sit in on them and let them run home. And we saw that a couple of weeks ago. There was a big race there was a race at Ellerslie, and the leader just, of course, called Dragon Run, I think it was, just completely dominated the race because all the other favoured runners went back. They all come out and won their next start. But, yeah, when you draw the car park, people don't want to be scrubbing their ears off.
No.
So
especially
jockey intent often isn't what you think it is. It's not the jockey. It's riding to instruction.
Hey, you did the Bowden Barrett comparison earlier on, which was a really good one. Whether he comes into the line and wants to do a chip kick or a skip pass or a step and try to break the line. Or flatten someone. He's trying to win the game regardless. And I think jockeys are the same. When you talk about jockey intent, it just occurred to me then, they're always trying to do the best and if they can win the race. There's just about a billion different ways to go about it. And if you can't win the race, like Bowden Barrett can't make the gap, well, that's when you change and you either go back or you do pass the ball.
Nothing makes people go, my God, he's a genius. Look at then someone coming from last, or even more so, someone coming from last and weaving through them. But that's also the easiest way to get beat. the easiest way to get beat is to try and come from last or to try and weave through gaps, because bad luck comes into play, whereas when you're in front, bad luck doesn't come into play. So the things which we go afterwards, oh my God, Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson's the one we do the most in the country. Oh, only the Magic Man could have done that. Is the exact same shit that will get you beat most of the time.
100%.
So, yeah, it's real hero or zero sort of stuff. Whereas if you just want to keep pressing forward all the time, the old Tommy Smith, Gay Waterhouse attitude, which is put him up on the speed and keep rocking, yes, they won't tend to be unlucky very often, but they'll also make the race for other horses.
100%. All right, Mick, 30 seconds each. Good stuff coming in the Herald?
Yeah, but we've got a massive coverage. We're going to have 4 pages of racing for the biggest carnivals coming up. So, and I don't know where the hell we're going to get it from, but we're going to. And we've still got racing here every day. We've got a big story coming up tomorrow morning about the future of radio trackside.
There you go, watch that. And do you have something we should be following?
I must admit, because I've been so busy with all the stories at the moment, I'm looking forward to following teams. The James Wellwood team's going really well.
Yes.
I think Pikey's team's about to have a really good time. Obviously, Jamie's team's already flying. I think Pikey's team's going to have a really good run at the moment, because I just think he's got a lot of dry track horses. They're naturally fast horses. He doesn't tend to buy those big thumping things. And I think he's a guy to follow over the next month.
One jockey you want to watch?
The best jockey in the country at the moment for just day in, day out backing is Danielle. But I tell you who's been wicked since she's come back. Lisa Allpress was just carving him up in the CD.
She deserves a shout
And
out.
she just goes everywhere and she's just like a little machine human. And so at the moment when I'm betting in the CD, I'm going Lisa first. As much as I love Jonathan Parks as a jockey, I'm looking at Lisa's rides first, and it just adds 2 points to anything like that.
There you go, Michael Guerin.
Thanks, brother. Enjoyed
Mickey, I loved it. Toby, thank you. Tiakau, David, Karen, the team, thank you. Louis Herman-Watt. Boys get paid.
Oh,
Hey,
by the way, Ellerslie next Thursday. There's only about 100 tickets left for
go buy them.
This village thing. It's going to be enormous. If it's fine there next Thursday, twilight.
extracurriculars. Mickey G, thank you. We'll see you next time on No Last Race. Thanks, Dave.